Hey guys, what's going on? Bio here today, wanting to talk a little bit about Halo Infinite. And as you guys know, I cover a lot of arena shooter topics like Quake. I'm starting to delve a little bit more into the single player side of things. Eventually, I want to get into Unreal Tournament and then some of the more fringe and niche arena shooters like Glitch Arena and all that. But for now, today, I wanted to talk a little bit about Halo Infinite. And when we talk about arena shooters in general, typically speaking, the big two that come to mind are Quake and Unreal Tournament. And a lot of people would debate about Halo being an arena shooter. And I think, especially since Halo 5, if you have any knowledge of it, I think Halo has definitely evolved and adapted more into its arena shooter elements, while not totally leaning into the full style of an arena shooter, if that makes any sense. Halo has always been considered a console arena shooter, and I don't think that's the right definition for it. However, I don't think it's necessarily wrong. Obviously, on console, there is bigger limitations, that being you can't have 8 different fucking weapons and expect the game to be smooth, right? Like, that's something you can get away with on mouse and keyboard and PCs and all that. And I think that's totally okay, right? So I first wanted to get it out of the way that is Halo an arena FPS? Certainly, it has many arena FPS elements. It has weapon pickups, it has item timings, right? You have power weapons that spawn every 2 minutes. When you pick up a weapon, I believe it goes on a 30-second weapon respawn timer from the time it runs out of ammo. Again, a little shaky on the details on that, so don't take my word entirely. Take it with a grain of salt. It also features arena-like maps. You know, it's a staple of an arena shooter. You can't have an open-world survival map and call it an arena shooter. It just doesn't fucking work. And then you have advanced movement. Now, this is why I said, especially since Halo 5, I think advanced movement has been taking a big course in the Halo scene. But even before that, you had movement like Gandhi hopping to sort of manipulate your hitbox. You had grenade jumping to get to higher spots. There's always been some form of advanced movement in Halo games. And it's maybe not to the degree that Quake is or Unreal Tournament is. Like, Quake has strafe jumping, obviously, and Unreal Tournament has dashing, wall jumping, and, you know, all of that shit, right? And I don't think that technical movement is what defines an arena shooter, right? Like having auto hop, for example, or like, you know, having your jumps automatically jump, and as long as you input WA, WD, whatever, I think that's perfectly fine too, because it sort of equalizes the complexity and lowers the sort of skill ceiling, right? So new players can come in and have a good time and not have to learn the movement. And I've always been of the opinion that Quake never needed you to learn the advanced movement for you to enjoy a round of deathmatch or a round of team deathmatch, right? And again, this is also another really big one for arena shooters, is equal starts. And we're going to talk about aim assist and all that later, don't worry. But Halo, for the most part, equal spawns, equal starts. Maps are pretty symmetrical for the most part, especially CTF maps. I think that's Halo's, like, biggest plus has always been CTF. And also on top of that, it has, generally speaking, in its ranked play and competitive play, rotating modes, which is something you don't really see too often in the arena shooter space. And it's something I really liked that about xBioTTV that it did for its esports, was it had more than one competitive mode. And I think that's something that's really cool, and I think that's something that I would love to see more of, especially within the Halo competitive scene. But I really want to talk about right now what Infinite can accomplish. I have no clue what I'm going to title this video. I feel like titling it "Can Halo Infinite Save Arena Shooters" is a bit overused, especially because I've already said that about xBioTTV and look at where that ended up. I think Halo Infinite can achieve a lot. I think it could be a catalyst for arena FPS games, but I don't think it'll ever revive Quake or Unreal Tournament. You know, I think we're entering this new wave, this new style of arena shooters, and that's okay, right? Like, imagine, and you guys are going to laugh at me for this, and I'm probably going to lose a shit ton of credibility for this, but I don't give a fuck. I say what I want to say. Imagine if Call of Duty had the same style that Infinite had, or that Halo has always had, where instead of starting out with loadouts, you start out with like a pistol or something, or like a default AR or whatever, and you go around picking up weapons and all that, and you had the high or the low TTKs, and you had all this, you know, the staple that COD has, just without the loadouts and all that. And I think that would attribute to Call of Duty being an arena shooter. However, I don't consider Call of Duty one right now. But I think those are the style of arena shooters that we're going to see more of, instead of these boomer shooters when it comes to competitive FPS, especially in the arena shooter scene, right? Like Halo is one of those games that can actually accomplish something. And I think it's something that will be really interesting to see in the coming year, year and a half after its release, not including from the time of this technical test. To see really what all it can do for the arena shooter scene, right? Because I mean, it's really no secret right now that arena shooters are dead for the most part, right? Diabotical down the fucking toilet. Champions is making a slight comeback. It's gained players throughout this last month. You know, Sinclair doing a great job. Microsoft acquisition, putting more time into it. It's being streamed on the Microsoft Twitch channel. That's pretty fucking huge, honestly. But aside from that, arena shooters are dead. Unreal Tournament, pretty much non-existent now, which sucks because it's still like a fun game to play. You know, I've been dabbling a little bit in Unreal Tournament. But past that, Quake and Unreal Tournament are dead in terms of arena shooters. And that's, when you say arena shooter, those are the games you think of, right? You think of Quake likes, or you think of Unreal Tournament likes. There aren't really many. I think Master Arena is probably the only game that's similar to Unreal Tournament. If you want to include Diabotical now, I guess you technically could. But for simplicity's sake, we're just going to go ahead and say that Quake is dead and Unreal Tournament is dead. And I don't think I could ever argue that Quake would ever come back to life. I did do some dabbling with prototyping and arena shooter myself. Obviously, I'm not a game dev. I have no programming experience, modeling experience, etc. However, I do have a sort of loosely detailed document about what I would like to see in an arena shooter. And, you know, I might do a video on that one day. Who fucking knows? But I think Halo as a competitive AFPS certainly has a place in the scene. More so than Unreal Tournament, and probably more so than Quake at this point, just because Halo is a more recognizable franchise, which in my opinion is just hilarious, right? It's like when you say Quake, people have heard of it, but they probably have nothing to visualize it with, right? I know this is the fact because a coworker of mine has stumbled upon my YouTube channel and has been like, oh, that's cool. I've always heard of Quake, but never knew what it was about. But yeah. So let's go ahead and talk about mouse and keyboard and controller and equal starts in Halo, because I've seen a bunch of tweets going around from Matt Kelly and a bunch of other sort of Quake and Battalion pros and Apex pros and all that, which is funny that Apex pros are chiming in. I think that's honestly comical, right? It's like, you know, you're arguing about competitive integrity in your game when Apex is probably one of the most random esports there is out there. So I think that's always funny. But no, I think there is some legitimate fear to that. But I would like to sort of argue against it, and sort of give a few like sources and ideas, right? So why are their fears legitimate? I think I should start off with that. In the recent releases, I mean, I still consider it recent, right? Master Chief Collection launched on Steam in 2019, and it introduced Halo Reach into the mix for the PC pool and all that. And when it came out, you know, it wasn't as apparent, but as time went on, aim assist in Reach and other Halo games was atrocious, right? I think everyone has collectively agreed at this point that Reach is Reach and all the MCC Halos are just really skewed towards controller. And I don't think anyone would argue against that. Even my friends who typically argue that aim assist isn't a huge problem in competitive gaming, or just fucking shooters in general, right? It's like, no, everyone knows that the aim assist in MCC was atrocious. I don't think anyone could argue that. However, a lot of people like to think that aim assist is this very black and white thing, and I like to sort of argue against that point, right? I was talking about it in a Discord earlier with a group of friends, but aim assist is not black and white. It's not linear, right? You can tune aim assist, and just like you can tune mouse and keyboard, right? A lot of people like to think that there's this big skill when it comes to aiming, and I really don't think that's the case, right? At a pro level, because like realistically in a game like Halo, the pro level is essentially the only thing that matters aside from like the custom games. At a pro level, Halo has always been more about positioning than aim, right? And at a pro level in Quake, positioning, timing, etc. has always won you games over pure aim, right? Even in Counter-Strike and Overwatch, you'll have these outliers that'll have incredibly good aim, and then you'll have these B-tier pro players try to imitate them and try to distinguish themselves through their aim. And I've always thought that's just a really weird, unfeasible thing to do when it comes to competitive gaming, right? Is because it's like, you're never gonna be the next Scream or Tens or Shroud, right? Those guys were outliers. You can't include those people into a pool of players and expect to be like them, right? You know, I have friends who are new to PC gaming and all that, right? They come from console and they see Shroud playing, they see Tens playing, they see Scream play, and they see all these like really high up aimers play, and they try to imitate them in games like Valorant and Counter-Strike, and they're fucking shit at the game, right? And I think that shouldn't come as a surprise to many people, because aim rarely carries you at a pro level, right? Because it's already at the point where everyone is aiming the same. It comes down to how you play the game at that point, right? And again, you can look at this, like, no shade on Shroud. I love Shroud. I love watching him. He's always been like a sort of big inspiration to me in Counter-Strike. You know, no shade to him, but he's never been like this really ultra tier 1 simple level pro, right? He's always been probably top 15, top 10 maybe, but never top 5. At least I personally don't believe. And I'm sure others out there would argue that or whatever, but we're getting a little bit off topic. So Halo has never been the super ultra precise game, right? Like, there are things that in Halo that are precise, right? Like the snipe, for example. The snipe is always a precision weapon, or the DMR from Reach. Like, yeah, that's precision. But in Infinite, you're given an AR, a pistol, which I guess the pistol could be argued as a precision weapon. The BR, I don't think is nearly as precise as people are making it out to be. Four-shotting on mouse and keyboard to me feels it's so easy. Right, and I was running at like 20% render res or something. Like, Infinite, it's not a precise game, so aim assist entirely should not matter, right? And something that balances that out is mouse and keyboard has bullet magnetism, and I think also controller does have bullet magnetism too. I don't know. However, when testing it on Infinite, I most certainly could not tell if it was working or if it was on or what, but I never felt like I was ever at a point getting outgunned by controller players when they enabled the PvP, right? There was, it just never happened. I could never tell if someone was on controller or mouse and keyboard, right? And I think that's good. I think a lot of people don't realize that that is a very good thing. And I feel like a lot of games you can't tell, and people who make these accusations, if they're not streaming or there's no proof of it, typically are taking a 50-50 guess whether they're on controller or mouse and keyboard, right? Unless there's some sort of physical proof, like they're a pro player who is like Nadeshot uses controller on Apex, right? There's no way to fucking tell. And I think people who try to say there is are bullshitting themselves, and they're just hurt. Their egos are hurt that they couldn't out aim a controller, right? And they all have their pros and cons, and that's an argument you see a lot, is that mouse and keyboard and controller have pros and cons, and it's true, they really fucking do, right? And I think that's something really interesting to sort of look at, because the pros of of mouse and keyboard for Halo specifically would be related to the snipe, right? Well, turns out the snipe doesn't work the same way as it does in MCC, and there is a little bit of first shot variance with the snipe, right? You could zoom in on someone's head on the infinite tech test in like the training range with the snipe, and then you could zoom out, take the first shot. It sometimes doesn't hit without moving the mouse. And since that was nerfed, that kind of takes a lot of the sort of precision that I was talking about earlier out of the mouse and keyboard pool and just infinite in general, right? So I think the pros and cons with mouse and keyboard, again, mouse and keyboard is typically more precise, right? Which some people think that's an edge, some people don't. I don't really know. I don't think Halo is the super precise game to begin with, so that's always been a null argument to me. And then you have people saying that, oh, aim assist is aimbotting. It's like, what the fuck type of argument is that? Unless they're quite literally able to snap on their heads and fucking aimbot the shit. In fact, there's a good video that I'll probably play during this segment. It was titled, What People Think Aim Assist is Actually Like. And it's like, it just blows my mind what people actually think aim assist does. And Matt Kelly, again, I mentioned his name earlier, like he had a really good take, right? Is it's like it does hurt competitive balance, or I don't remember the exact wordage he used, but it is true. I can understand that, right? It's not going to be equal at the point when you have mouse and keyboard versus controller, but I think at a pro level, that's pretty nullified. And again, if you want to use MCC as proof, I think most people can agree MCC is an outlier, especially compared to other games we have like Destiny 2. Oh shit, I just knocked something off my desk. Anyways, Destiny 2 is not a really competitive game in my eyes. Some people like to think it is. You know what? Good for them. I don't want to argue that right now. But Destiny 2 has struck a very good balance, in my opinion, between mouse and keyboard and controller. And the people that play Destiny 2 are these like people who swapped from console to PC, run 1600 DPI at like 8 CM per 360. It's like these people have no valid opinion in my seriously, they have no valid opinion. They have no standing ground when talking about if controller is stronger versus mouse and keyboard, because they're literally playing on 8 CM per 360. Like you can't physically control that against the controller and expect to be more accurate. But bullet magnetism is a surefire way to balance out between aim assist and controller and mouse and keyboard, right? And I think that's super important to differentiate that there are ways to do it, like give controller more recoil versus mouse and keyboard. That's a good way to balance it out. A lot of people are going to hate on me for saying that, but you have to find these middle grounds if you want to have controller and mouse and keyboard, right? But that's all I really wanted to talk about in terms of that. Will I be competing in Infinite? Probably not. Unless I fall in love with the game like I did Quake, I probably have no interest in really competing in Infinite or giving it really a shot past ranked play. I think ranked play will be fun, but past that, not really interested competing. So my final thoughts on Halo Infinite's tech test. Great time. Obviously, it was a technical test, so you can't expect too much gameplay-wise. However, when they enabled PvP, it was fun. I carried the fuck out of my bot teammates. And I'm really looking forward to the game. It's worth a try if you are interested in arena shooters. Even if you don't like, or even if you don't consider Halo an arena shooter, I think it's still worth it. You can disagree with me or not. Give it a try. Give it a fair chance when it releases. I think you would be honestly surprised how similar it is to a game like Quake or Unreal Tournament. And it honestly leads more towards the Unreal Tournament side of things than Quake side of things. So if that influences your decision, oh fucking well. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. I have another video coming out. I know all you guys have been asking me to react to Funky's new video. I didn't want to react to it right away because it just didn't seem like a right thing to do. But appreciate you guys tuning in. So hopefully I'll see you guys around. Seriously. Till next time though, gamers. Peace.